y'all go to the polls, cast your ballot, and God lays on your heart, you go cast your ballot. But just listen to what the man has to say. Gentner? Thank you, sir.
You know, Wendy and I drive by, we don't use this road, we drive just within 3 miles of here every night, going out to the town. And leaves the West Pasadena branch, and then we are on the other side of Highway 20. So I'm a folks, please don't be deceived by this city. We just came from the future, and we're going back to the way capital. So I'm happy to be here. I know we've got rural folks from Osage County, and I know we've got some Sand Springs folks as well. I think that's kind of a mix. My problem is I'm a horrible politician, so I'm just going to tell you how it is. So we got 3 issues that my office is looking at with regard to this data center. One, some of the land that's proposed was once upon a time granted into a historical easement or a conservation easement. Once you grant something into a conservation easement, you can't build on it, right? You cannot improve it. So I'm told, what we're investigating, that portion of the land will not be built on us. But we will verify that, right? That's one. The other one is the zoning. Zoning is a local issue. So you don't want state government dropping into your city and telling your city how to zone. That's a local control. Where my lane is on the annexation. All right? Now, Kyle, Charlie, they've given us a lot of maps, a lot of information, and my smart team has looked at it and go, if we can verify this, we have that lane, we, the Attorney General, have a lane to intervene in the lawsuit. So what we have in our office is a former land manager who's an assistant Attorney General, and she's going up to Osage County Monday to go to the map room, look at the original maps, look at the original annexation, the original fence lines and all that, and the legal action of the program. And if it was done in violation of the Supreme Court case that's out there, then my office will contact the city to say, you need to set aside the annexation that was wrong. And if they say no, then we'll intervene in their lawsuit and prove that case. So that's And I say that not because I'm running for governor. I say that because I'm the Attorney General. Right? I take seriously my job. I don't pick winners and losers. I don't pick winners. You don't want the Attorney General with as much power as sits in my hand for me to pick winners and losers. We follow the law, and whatever the law says is what we do. Right? And that gets me in trouble all the time. But you have my commitment. Let me back. This is what I like saying. We will not agree 100% of the time. But you can trust me 100% of the time. Because that's just the way I was raised, right? 20 miles from here is where I grew up, and that's how I was raised. My yes is yes, my no is no. If the law supports your position, I will intervene and make it. If the law does not support your position, I will tell you it does not support your position, and I'll be honest with people. Everything that I've seen indicates to me that you're right and the city is wrong. So, I mean, I just don't want to, I want to be very honest with you. My legal team has not said green light go. My legal team has said everything we've seen makes sense. Let us go confirm it, and then we'll make the recommendation. So I will promise you that I will do it. Yes, ma'am.
Part of the annexation is because they didn't lay out the municipal plan that they're legally obligated to lay out. They had 90 days after the annexation to do that, and they still haven't done that. So everything you're looking at aside, the short answer is we know that they didn't complete it.
Right.
So lawfully,
The Supreme Court guidance on how you do it. We just, I mean, we've gotten copies of that. We just need to go through that. Right. So I need to, I've been doing law long enough. I mean, I'm a rancher full time, but I'm a lawyer, and I got to check my box. But you're right. Procedurally, there's a defect. The question is that a material defect? So we'll render a opinion. Yes, ma'am. In the back. Yes, sir.
Will you have time to do all that running for governor and the election?
Yeah, I'm a full-time attorney governor. I only campaign in the morning a lunch, and then leave, and over time I can't take it. So you got my attention. I mean, Kyle Charlie did great. That gives me a lot of sense. You're not the only city that's asking for questions. I mean, the whole state. I mean, I probably get me and my office probably get over 100 emails a day asking for it to jump in. It took Charlie a couple of emails and got my attention. Kyle called me and then we jumped in. But yes, we got it done. And I've got 4 months left of my term. And I'm not, so this will be filed. If we can verify what we can, we'll file within 2 weeks. But we'll get it done. Other questions on this subject?
There is a state law, right, that says that they can't like skip so much land and then come out here and annex a certain piece.
Right, so what you see in cities like Oklahoma City and Tulsa, you guys know Highway 20, Highway 75, right? Right, Collinsville's fence line goes all the way to Highway 75, right? But it's not, there's no city between there. They just claimed it as their own, so it's got two equipment like that. So cities do that all the time. They enlarge their fence line, which then puts that fence line inside zoning requirements, right? We had Post Oak Block forever, and we fought the city because we didn't want them to tell us we could shoot shotguns and stuff like that. So you're right. It has to be contiguous. It has to follow the law. It has to be the notice requirements. There's a lot of things that appear as though they were not done. And I do give the elected officials the sense of more law by entering into the NDA. That's just not how we do business. You know, you're the people, and the voters of Sand Springs need to know, the rural folk that it affects need to know. That's just the way it is. You know, do things in the life, we can do it. And if we put it in the light and the folks say this is not what we want to do, then if you have half a brain as an elected official, you don't do it. Right? Because the power is with the people. So that's what we're now. If there's any more questions on this, I want to answer them. I'm going to give you a little few minutes some speech, and then we'll get you guys back to your evening. But other questions on this subject now? Yes, sir.
Isn't there in the state statute, is there something that they can't annex property into the city limits unless it butts corporate city limits?
I didn't quite understand. Can they annex? Yes.
Well, doesn't it have to abut corporate city
Right.
limits?
No, it has to be, right. You have to have contiguous line of property. Now, some cities follow a highway to get out there, but there has to be, it's well defined in law. They have to play by the rules. Yes, ma'am.
I want to know your pro-Trump supporter.
I supported
I've heard
President.
rumors that you donated to Biden, and I want to know if that's true, and I want to know if
Here's
you
the-
support
I like this question. All right. All right. I've never given to Biden. I've never given to Biden. I've given President Trump $75,000.
Somebody donated to Biden here tonight.
Right. You're looking at her. President Trump said something about 6 years ago that offended her, and she immediately jumped on it. What did you do? Apple Pay. Her Apple Pay, but it was tied to our credit card. And so it said, thank you, Gentner. And then she saw that, and she came.
So you are pro-Trump.
I only gave him 75.
100%. You don't believe in transgender, same-sex marriage, and all that?
Let me break it down. I sued Joe Biden 17 times and won 17 times. President Trump has invited me to the White House twice in the last 3 months. I met with Vice President Vance on Medicaid fraud, because we do it better than any other state. And then he had me back to meet with FBI Director Patel and Attorney General Blanche, because we're the only state with a multi-county grand jury, an organized crime task force. Because folks, when I took office, we had 12,000 marijuana grow facilities in the state. We formed an organized crime task force. We took the battle of organized crime. We have shut down 10,600 facilities. And in the process, now, once Trump got into office, every time we go out on the bus, we have ICE with us, and we're the 5th highest state in deportations. Every one of them, Chinese syndicated private organization. I didn't give my 75,000 to Roger Stone. So every candidate, Democrat, Independent, Republican, every one of us were against the Inola aluminum smelter. Every one of us. Mike had been given Stone a retainer of $7,500 a month, saying, please give me that endorsement, this and that endorsement. Stone, you guys know Roger Stone,
Yes.
as the president's here, said, hey, Mr. President, would you endorse Mr. Macy for governor? And he said, I need somebody to support the smelter. He'll flip, I'll give him the endorsement. Mike Macy on May 29th went on X and said, I've had an epiphany, I've researched it, the Inola smelter is good for Oklahoma, the United States of America, and he had the Trump endorsement 4.5 hours later. Mr. Macy sold out Inola.
We
That
don't
was-
want the hour, we don't live in Iowa, we don't want that hour.
No, I don't know.
Doesn't the
Yes,
state
sir.
allow foreigners to buy land in Oklahoma? Is that not selling out Oklahoma? This was smelter owned by a foreign entity.
Oh, you getting my stuff speech now. All right, so let's talk about that also. When it published its announcement and its initial application for an air permit in February the 12th of this year, it said we're going to put 425 tons of fluoride particulate into the air. Listen, the cutoff is 10 tons. The EPA says 10 tons and below, you can get a permit. Above 10 tons, you can't. 425. So I reached out to them and said, you got to do better. And they go, well, we're going to do our final application on May 18th. And then we started researching it, and we found out it's 60% owned by the United Air Works and 40% owned by the Aluminum Centurion in Chicago, whose largest investor is under contract with the Republic of Iran for agricultural products. So you got Chicago doing business with Iran. You got the United Arab Emirates, who does not let anyone live within 5 miles of its 3 smelters. You can't live within 5 miles. You can't run goats, sheep, camels within 5 miles. Guess how far I know the public schools is from this smelter? 3 miles. 500 rooftops are within that 5 mile radius. The hay capital of the world will go down to Park Creek too. And I'm not backing up. So the air people, they're going to pollute the air. They're going to put 55,000 gallons of wastewater through the Inola wastewater facilities every 2 hours. Right now, Inola processes less than 100,000 gallons a day. Every 2 hours, 55,000. And they're going to put 750,000 tons of sludge in Oklahoma a year. And it's not permitted for land application. So I have problems with foreign ownership of land, 633 acres. I have a problem with them destroying Inola. I'm a rancher. I would lose my mind if I were within 5 miles of
We're gonna
land.
turn it into another picture of Columbus.
Yeah, no, that's picture Park Creek too. Yes, sir, in back.
So, Trump has been pushing these data centers, telling people they're idiots if they don't want them in their backyard. My land is going to be worth so much more money. But in the real world, our water is going to be destroyed. Everybody I talked to, their energy bills have more than doubled in the past couple of weeks, or months, let's say. If you get to the governor of Oklahoma, what is your thoughts on this rapid development of data centers?
So,
Are you going to be a free-for-all?
3 points on the desk. Right, I mean, they're coming. They're coming.
They're not coming in my backyard.
3 issues. 3 issues.
No.
One, there has to be local control that's transparent. So if the community of Collinsville says, we want a data center on the north side of town, I'm happy. I mean, it's local control and transparent, right? I had to add transparent after St. Springs ended with the NBA. I never thought that would ever happen. So they got to be transparent on local control. 2, they have to have, there is technology now where they recycle the water or use air cooler. right? So the ones in the plant that are going into the mid-America plant are going to be recycled water. And 3, they have to pay for their own power, not just the use, but the construction of the power plant. Indiana is 5 years ahead of us in data center innovation. This year, for the very first time in the history of Indiana, the electric charge to consumers went down 20%. Because, if you think about it, right now we have a pie this big in Oklahoma with power. OG&E, ONG, PSO, Summit, all these other publicly traded power producers. As they build more power plants for data centers and other centers, 3 years ago it was crypto mining, but now it's data centers. The infrastructure gets bigger, the fixed costs are spread out over a bigger group, and Indiana is now seeing a reduction in electric rates. So we will, if these come as and we hold them accountable, we have to hold them accountable. So as government, I promise you, I will not let them come to Oklahoma unless they pay for the construction of their own power. Go ahead.
So you said if the community's one, right, that have one of your.
They have to want it.
I don't want
You
it.
have to want it.
I don't want it.
So, during all this EPA stuff with the city of Sandy Springs, we had multiple meetings down at the high school. Over 300 people showed up in opposition to it. The city of Sandy Springs, the leadership down there said, we don't care what you think. Jim Spook told me, it doesn't matter what you want because you don't get the vote. He told me, I don't get the vote. And it only affects 500 people. I live in Sandy Springs. I was born here, I've been here my whole life. I live outside the city limits. You're right, he's right, I don't get the vote. But my voice is taken away from it. Us as a community, we don't want this. What can you do to fix that? What can you do to let
What will you do?
On this matter, I think they wrongfully annexed. And I will intervene and I will defeat it on this matter.
Okay, but I'm talking about the future. And other communities who are in this kids line, who are voicing opposition in Oklahoma, but we don't have a voice because we can't vote. What can you do as an elected official? I know you don't have it where you're at now, but as a governor, how can you protect us, not just Rock community, but other communities? Give us a voice to the officials who are not listening to us.
So, I live in rural Oklahoma, right? 7 miles east of Huntley. I get to vote for school board, but I don't get to vote for city council. So what you're saying is, you're not getting to vote for city council because we're in the village. Are you inside the fence line?
Yes.
Then what we need to do, we need to change the law. We have to, if you're inside the fence line, you're being affected by the city. You should have a voice in the city.
Yes, sir, I'd like some clarification. You talked about opening a closet and looking at maps. Presumably that's for the 1966 fence line, making sure that's, all laid out clearly. My question is, does that fence line meet the continuity requirements for local home statutes?
Yeah, I don't think it does. Right, I mean, you sent me the map, we looked at it, what we've seen from you. Yeah, you guys understand why I'm having to go to the source. Right, there's technology out there, I get emails every day that when I look, it's not the center, I trust you, and I believe it's truthful, we're gonna go with that.
Did you get the email where Brad Wade specifically said we need to redraw this to make this happen? Because that would help us
Yes, sir.
Question, so, in some of this, as you go through the data center, and not necessarily related to it, but something I heard you say a minute ago, you talked about forcing that cost on the Southwest Power Authority, PSO, maintenance. So we know that some of the rate increases, what they bump into, and what they said, some more testimony before the OCC, that some of this is related to data center creating more energy, heating more energy. We already have some stuff in place that says they have to pay for their energy. The problem is just like you or me, just like your range, while I live down the road here, PSO, their problem is to get into, or for me, co-op here at Collinsville to get my fence line on is my problem. So what is your definition of making them pay for their power? Because as it is now, when we vote and we increase our power, we increase it, and if we bring it for this data center, any other data center, the smelter, you name it, right? What is your definition of they have to pay for the increased power?
You raised a great point. So this last legislative session, the legislature passed bring your own power. That's not good enough, because this is what's happening. We're taking it up to the Supreme Court right now. Google coming in and saying, we're buying NextEra's wind plant, so we're bringing our power, but we need to be tied into PSO if there's a natural emergency, there's no wind, or it's natural maintenance. So for them being tied into PSO has to have capacity to provide them power when that wind plant goes down. And that's not good enough, right? Because that means then PSO is going to turn around to the state and say, I need to be approved to build a 125 kilowatt plant, and I need the citizens in the PSO footprint to underwrite that $200 million facility. No, we're taking it up to the Supreme Court. So what the law needs to change to be is bring your power fine. If Google says we're going to buy your plant from NextEra, great, but they have to transfer authority over that plant to PSO. So then it's in the PSO mix, right? So then if it's already there, now PSO controls that power, and when they're not using all that power, PSO can use it for other users. So they tried. We talked to them back in March to say, you're not thinking this through. It was a baby step, but we got to make it a bigger step. Because they need to pay PSO to build the plant that they use.
And we talk about there's megawatt lines coming from the plant to the facility. I don't think that should be, the sales pitch is we're going to bring better, reliable energy to your area. The problem is we're paying to bring, lines are way larger than what we need for our community. So it's still on our backs.
We got one of those high intensity, we're going right through the middle of the range. I hate the transmission lines. But we want to build them, buy them, and have them pay for it. So I'm well aware. I mean, as the Attorney General, we are the gatekeeper on when the utility companies ask for something. We fight them all the time. I mean, they're not my friends. We fight them. And then they got to deal with it, Google, but it's not the best thing for both of them. So we're taking that up. Yes, sir.
Just want to add something to what you were mentioning. You said that they're going to acquire NextEra solar.
Yes, sir.
Solar capacity?
I'm sorry, when I think that.
Well, even so, with capacity, solar capacity, it's not 100% of the time. So they're still going to have to.
Oh, I know.
That's
Absolutely.
So that's.
Right, but then to say, hey, look at me, I bought all this wind capacity, that's awesome, but what happens when the wind stops?
Exactly. So they have to acquire power.
Right, we have, so I'm making them pay for the power. If they can buy NextEra, they have to transfer control to PSO, so it's in the PSO mix.
The question I have in addition to that is, that part of it, what they can put power on site, what they can do. There's not a lot of extra capacity for all the data centers. They're working the power industry, making things right now. The amount of gigawatts that are going to be required over the next 10 to 20 years is going to be outstripping everything. We'll bring it back more power.
It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy.
So the emissions, water, everything else for those plants, is still very limited control. That's going to be part of the system. So just
That's a lot. We have to look at that.
capacity.
Get those questions.
I have this question, you may or may not be able to answer this, but something that's been given to us to appease us has been the word initially. So initially we will not use power. Initially we will use water coolers or whatever. So I think we need to address that they make certain we can stick it.
That's why it's me, because that's what they're telling me at the summer. We're going to use best practices, highest technology. I say, bullshit.
Last question, I promise. So because if you go to Alaska and determine that this was all done unlawfully, will there You don't matter, your city doesn't matter, you can do whatever you want to do. And I don't believe you can do whatever you want to do whenever there are laws already applicable to the situation. So is it just we'll get rid of it, or will they be held accountable for what they
So,
try to do this
I
entire?
would love to tell you we could watch it. I've been AG for 3.5 years. It drives me crazy to watch government officials do their job badly, intentionally badly.
Illegally, it's different than that.
Breaking the statute. Some are prosecutable. As we sit here today, will I look at it? Absolutely. As I sit here, do I see a criminal act? No.
The city official sees that you can't legally do something, says we have to revise, redraw the map, goes and redraws the map, and you're saying, they really didn't do anything?
Yeah, no, it's
284
Both of all
days.
happy.
284 days, sir.
Yes, sir.
We want accountability.
Have you talked to the tribe about their feelings on this status? Because to my knowledge, we've not had any indication of whether.
Tribes. So there's a difference in what the OSAG would be able to make sure that they have access to the minerals, right? That's all they've got done. If we were in Creek or Cherokee, they actually have standing on water and things like that. The non-reserve tribes don't have anything, but they could be your partner in this for sure. Yes, sir.
First, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to come and speak to our community. We have a lot of pressing issues. I'd like to ask just a few questions, kind of looking backwards, and then a couple of questions looking forward. My backwards questions are kind of along the line of where this kind of all initially started. Do you, in your current capacity, have the right to go knock on the city of Sand Springs door and go, I would like to review your non-disclosure statement to ensure that the commitments of both parties are legal, fair, and equitable? Do you have that right?
So anytime city, county, state government does things under an NDA, it better be justified. And it's only, these are the two areas, active criminal investigation or judicial settlement. So they did not use the NDA correctly. So it was an inappropriate use of the NDA. And you guys did a recorder's request and you got the record.
They haven't complied completely, we don't have all the records.
Then I can get involved. And
That's the starting.
yeah, so
That's the
so
history.
The
of where it started.
government vetoed this law 3 times, and they overrode the findings the last time. It gives the attorney general standing to hold accountable a city or county official.
So you'd be able to theoretically see what incentives are truly there. Because I look at this, that the only way people are going to act as business people totally against the logic, totally against their constituents, is the incentives are there to do so. Whether that's in self-protection, whether it's in alternate currencies of value to them, their businesses, or their families. But there's an incentive. They're not going to go into the hailstorm.
If a public elected or appointed official gets a personal benefit, I question.
Is legal protection for them a personal benefit? Google says, I'm going to ask you to do all these things, but I'm going to give you this legal backing of our big dollars to protect you against any legal quest that may be brought against you.
It is permissible for a third party to indemnify the government. Let me give you an example. Friday at 5 o'clock, Beggs, Oklahoma called, or Thursday at 5 o'clock, Beggs, Oklahoma called and said, hey, Drummond, are all of our police officers are resigning tomorrow at 5 p.m., Friday at 5 p.m. Will you please help us? And I said, yes, we'll be there, but I want an agreement, City of Beggs, that when my men and women act as your police officers, if there's a civil lawsuit against us, you indemnify them. And they said, we'll sign that agreement. So, I mean, those are legal to be indemnified. I'm doing something that's not in my lane because it's the right thing to do. Now, Google, they do a lot of things that are not right, but But there is, it's legal to identify a public.
A public entity, not an individual. Right, so like somebody, if they said Jim Spoon.
Oh, okay, individual, no, it has to be the city council acting in the capacity of the city council.
Okay, not, but what if it is the individuals?
Right, you can't, I can't defend a public official who's sued in his individual capacity, nor can they be identified.
Okay. And so as we move forward, if this was to proceed, what protections, if you were governor, would you provide the landowners for equitable value of the necessary easements, right-of-way, infrastructure, extra high power lines, sewer lines, water lines, access road? Would you be willing to support a law that says that the highest and best use of value paid for a property would then apply to all of the other landowners? In the case of Mr. Ringle's Ranch, it's in upwards of 150,000 an acre. So as an easement would go across some of these ranches, that the other third parties that have to do business would be required as a minimum to pay that minimum standard. Would you support that kind of property? I know but that's what I'm asking. Would you as governor, would you support?
I would totally, we see that, I mean, unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't lawyer up for that, but I'd be open to a legislative fix that makes that a requirement. I'm with you because you're right, just like the wind farms. If I've got a big tract of land and I lease it out to a wind farm operator, and he puts it wherever he wants to, if it's not, we have to, this is an example, we have to require a setback. Because what if you have your 5 acres right on the edge of that big ranch, and they put a wind tower right up against that property line, they destroy your land. So I'm a believer in setbacks and fair and equitable treatment of the property owner, and I always will.
Thank you. Very interesting in our case. I think it's more spread across the state. And if you were governor, would you also support legislation to clean up the city voter rolls? Our team out here did a lot of work in collecting legitimate legal signatures to watch the gamemanship in the city of Sand Springs to go, oh, even though we got twice the signatures you need, we can't verify these names and addresses of the people that signed our document. Would you support something like that?
I would enforce the people's rights. I'm not, this is what it means. If you're signing a petition and you're a legitimate citizen eligible to sign, your voice needs to be heard. And we can't let government officials play games with that. Now, I don't have an opinion. This is an example. I don't have a personal opinion on this state question for open primaries. But they have a legitimate lawsuit against the state of Oklahoma because the Secretary of State just used a software program that kicked out twice as many votes as normal. And when the petitioners asked, what do you base that on? He said, the software program. And they're being sued. And you know what? We should lose because we manipulated that system. So I'm a believer in the voice of the people. If you're a legitimate voter eligible to write in that petition, your vote needs to count. Yes,
They're annexing this little piece over here, the city's way over there. And so all the people out here are not able to vote. Is it legal for them to annex way out here into Sand Springs? It's not connected?
well, so it has to be connected. Right.
It's not.
That's why we're going to confirm the will be on. But I do like the idea of changing the law so if you're in the fence line, you have a voice, but you're going to need exactly what you're saying.
When you say eligible to sign, the city charter says only people eligible to vote in the city can sign the petition. But the Supreme Court says that's not lawful, right? They're defying my right to sign, right? These people should have been able to sign their petitions because they're elected, because they're Oklahoma voters. So when you say eligible, clarify.
Right, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to agree with you. It's going to impact me. You should be able to help it.
So,
Even though also the charter states that only residents
residence does stand for any eligible vote, can petition, which Savage, yes, I'm going for Savage, voter, possible.
So the city is saying you have to be an eligible voter to sign it.
So, in order to just,
You're right, and I think you guys are going to make a petition, because right now you guys don't claim, you don't have any claims that are voters. You have to have it. That's a new definition of petition, we call that out. Whenever you go to the petition. So, get you as residents as petitioners that are inside the stand space, and you'll cure that. Yes, sir.
So, no, I love the grilling on data centers and intervening, love to keep it. I'm passionate, right? But I've got another question for you, as a potential governor, and it's an issue that's really important to me, my family, my children, fifth generation of Calamancas, right on our place where we live. There's no such thing as a family range anymore. We have our own jobs, we have to go because it can't sustain family. You and I both know, you and I share a fence line. You and I both know that the cattle industry right now is the best it's ever been. We can't make a living doing just that. So we're self-employed in addition to that. My question for you to say all that, I know this is kind of a federal issue when it comes to healthcare. We have to supply our own healthcare. We go through a co-op with other businesses. We have Blue Cross Blue Shield. My premium now, this is over my wife and I, and one child left at home, and other adult children are on land, costs more than most people's cars annually. In addition to that, my premiums, my out-of-pocket costs, even though I spend a ton of money on premiums, I spent more than buying people last year from the healthcare services. I'm not native, all qualified for Medicare. What can we do in Oklahoma? I know it's a better question, but to make healthcare.
No, I mean, it's not. So, I'm not giving you myself to speak on the one line. But let me tell you, because you raised the point that we have to address. The 5 promises that I'm making you as a candidate for governor. One, and I'm going to get your answer, but it's in those 5. Number one, it has to be education. We're 50th in the nation in education. The states that have changed, they had record development, right? And it's got to be an 8-year plan. I mean, we can't flip a switch in Jimmy Reed's, right? We got to start with access to quality daycare and early childhood development, 0 to 5. So when that child hits kindergarten, they've been properly fed, properly stimulated, and properly disciplined, so that they can become learners. And then we can get the reading proficiency by third grade by putting a reading specialist in every elementary school. And we need to look at you mentioned it, most of the men that work with me and for me have a trade. Welders, electricians, plumbers, CDL, we all have to have a trade. And every young person needs to have access to career tech where they can get that trade. Not everybody needs to go to college. We need people out there that have skills that can augment family farm. Number 2 priority is healthcare. If we do nothing in the next 5 years, we will lose between 27 and 45 of our 90 rural hospitals. Hominy lost it in 1991. That was the last year somebody moved it to Hominy, Oklahoma, because we don't have health care. So we've got to change it. And they're talking about affordability and access. So we have to own it as a state. I have to be an advocate with our federal delegation to drive that down. I'm meeting with Mark Cuban, for example, that now 3 times, on a plan for him, because he's a rich man, and he's got an insurance company that he wants to come into Oklahoma and just pass through his costs. Doesn't want to make money. Because it breaks his heart that people are going without health insurance because they can't afford it. So we're going to find a path where we, the state of Oklahoma, become our own insurance entity where people can have access at fair prices and the bargaining power of the state. So healthcare is key. Number 3 is mental health. We got mental health issues in Oklahoma. Every one of us in this room has a family member or a friend that suffers from mental health, and yet we've defunded it each of the last 7 years. We've got to do that right. And then if we do those 3 rights, then we have workforce development. We need our young people having access to quality education, healthcare, mental health, so that when they graduate from high school, they are ready to go into the workforce and be. And I'm talking to people that are unafraid to work. I get that. You are the exception to the rule. Your kids leave the home, they know how to work. But a lot of our city folk and suburban folk don't know that. We've got to get them to work. And
And lastly, we have to partner with the tribes. And that even includes the Osages. The Osages have access to capital that the state needs to partner with, for sure, the big tribes. If they were all publicly traded, the Chickasaw, Choctaws, and Cherokees would be Fortune 500 companies, like Gentner and expand. But they're never going to use them, right? They're here. And the citizens of Potawatomi have Shawnee would be a Fortune 1,000 company. So we need a government that partner with the tribes. Now, in my role as Attorney General, what you have watched is I'm holding accountable. When people complain, we keep a track. And enough people complain about State Farm and Allstate that we started investigating all insurance companies. And we concluded those two were bad actors. And so I have sued them because if you are a State Farm or Allstate holder, you are paying twice the national average in insurance. And when you have a claim, you're getting 1/2 the national average in your claim. And that's wrong. So I'm holding them accountable. Similarly, if you have a pharmacist or no pharmacist or a pharmacist, the big pharma, the pharmacy benefit managers that injured Oklahoma's pharmacists. I got a judgment about 9 months ago for $53 million that went back to pharmacists. We have 3 trials set this fall against the 3 big providers of pharmacies. And we're going to get about a $250 million judgment against them to go back to the pharmacists and local communities. Because they're out-of-state companies that are in here in Oklahoma. Same rule applies to the Andola smoker coming into Oklahoma. Same rule applies to the data centers. Before me, the data centers came in and did what they wanted, and now we're tapping the brake. We're making OG&E and DSO and ONG work with them to make them pay for their power plants, not us. So what you've got is an Attorney General is a man who fights for you. I mean, a lot of you guys know my background. I was a fighter for 30 years, right? So I've been proven over the skies of Baghdad in combat. I've been proven as a businessman and a rancher in the boardrooms and courtrooms across Oklahoma. And now as your Attorney General, I'm unafraid to take on out-of-state companies that are coming in here to injure your home, your pocketbook, and your future. You need to fight for you. I didn't pay Roger Stone $75,000. If I'd done that, I'd actually trouble with the door because I wouldn't willing to sell it. And that was the requirement.
Once PSO waiting on the past the bill that he's talking about, he's done to agree to a certain amount. What are they waiting on? Why are they waiting to vote?
The PSO you're talking about?
Are they waiting till we get the governor or what?
Well, they've asked for it, and now we've not given them what they want. We're going
Well,
on.
you talk them down.
Yeah. I want to keep
My electric bill was $400.
it's
That's cheap compared to.
It's out of control. All these issues of affordability have got to be addressed. I'm unafraid of it. Yes, ma'am.
Actually, looking at education and the local organizations, what about taking a look at this payment in lieu of taxes? When we think of education, when we think of these large corporations coming in, it almost is a little bit of altruism. When Google came in with Sand Springs, the first people they talked to was the school. Well, the school's a vulnerable system. Our schools are very vulnerable. They need all the money, they need all the support they can get. But what they do is they go and they say, we'll make this contract with you, a 25-year contract, that schools don't even typically make. And they say, we'll give you a payment in lieu of taxes. Why are we allowing big organizations to pray when our vulnerable systems and our kids?
You raised the issue there is a lot of these big corporations are going in and going right to the school. Because you let's face it, if you convince the school board and the teachers, that's a lot of political power. So they're going right into the schools and making a deal with the schools to win over the schools. I know the same thing with the smelter. I called the superintendent. I said, hey, I'm going to bring this lawsuit to you. He goes, you're going to kill me. And I'm like, how am I going to kill you? He goes, we're going to have all this money. And I go, but you're not going to be able to have your kids go outside at recess. Right? So we sat down with them, and I sat down with the school board, and they said, you know what, because what happens is the big corporations come in and they have a great song and dance, and they don't tell you the downside. They just tell you the upside, and their school board listens to it. So we're aware of that, and we're working on it. We're going to have to get back to that. Wait, let me take one more from sir, and then we're gonna close it.
I just want to say that there's been a lot of talk about the fence lines and all that, but from the county perspective, the city was coming in and they're taking pieces, and in this instance, they came in and took the piece of land without even consulting the county. We had no idea until a few months later that it had even been annexed in. And it's beginning to be a continuous process throughout, the state, all 77 counties.
You got a great point. So the point is, how did the county get cut out of the deal? And here's how it happened. I told Osage County 25 years ago, we need to pass a comprehensive zoning plan in Osage County. I'm a rancher. I want, my country is ag. Right? That's it, it's ag, and I want to stay ag. We don't have a comprehensive zoning plan in Osage County. There are comprehensive zoning plans in Tulsa County, Oklahoma County, Garfield County, other counties have them. We need to look at that because Osage County is going to continue to be left behind as these things happen. Osage County is the biggest county in the state.
But there has to be a better way to do this because the county should have some say in the way they do that. But they come in and they take it and it renders us pretty much speechless on the project or whatever going in because
The county had a voice.
we have a voice, but they
asked for
take
the,
from us because they come in and take that piece of property and we have no more say. It's the city that has the say.
right, when the annexation happens, the county had an opportunity to come in and say no. But Osage County needs some work on zoning, for sure. You guys have been awesome. If you'll indulge me, we're gonna have to wrap up and get out of here. Listen, I've been honest with you tonight. I know I haven't pleased everybody. I know that, and I get that. You're gonna have to pick your candidate next Tuesday. Actually, if you want to go early vote, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, early voting, but Tuesday, you're gonna pick a candidate. And there's a real sharp difference between the two candidates. I'm unafraid to make our decisions. I'm unafraid to come and meet with people that have real problems with what's going on. And I'm going to be honest with you, and when I say we're going to confirm and verify and get in, that's exactly what we're going to do, confirm and verify and get in. We're unafraid to do this. We want to do the right thing. We have led a life that has gotten us here. Wendy and I are residents of Osage County. We raised our 6 children out there. We have 7 grandchildren we enjoy out there. We've been richly blessed by Oklahoma as a family and as a couple. And I want to give back. And for me to be able to give back, I need to vote. And even though you may not agree with me on everything, I ask you to seriously consider voting for me on Tuesday, the 25th of August. And I promise you, I'll not be afraid to come back here and on my way home. We just come here to the room, we'll be right here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.